Kylie, thanks so much for taking some time to get on video today and let our clients get to know a little bit more about you and your background. You are not a paralegal at McMullin Injury Law anymore. What do you do at McMullin Injury Law?
I am the firm administrator.
What does that mean?
I guess it means a lot of things. Bookkeeping, accounting. I crank all the settlements out.
So give me an idea. What does it mean to crank a settlement out?
That's basically the end point of a case where the attorney and the paralegal give you basically a spreadsheet that shows how all the providers are going to be paid, what our fee is going to be, and then what the client gets in their pocket. So
like how many on average checks or separate checks made payable to different people are you cutting on a given settlement? Like in a normal personal injury settlement, I mean, how many people are getting a piece of that pie?
Oh, I'd say anywhere from like, I don't know, it varies.
Like what's the biggest one you've seen? How many separate checks?
Maybe 10.
And what's a small one? 2. Okay.
1 for the client and the attorney fee.
Gotcha. Okay. So it really depends on how, health insurance paybacks, how many medical providers are still owed money. Mm-hmm. So let's get to know you a little bit and start kind of at the top. Kylie, where'd you grow up?
So I was born in San Diego, and then a few years later we moved to Las Vegas, and then I was there for 9 or 10 years. And then in 2003 moved to St. George.
And why'd you move to St. George?
So it's been like 20 years.
Yeah.
My parents just kept migrating up the I-15.
Gotcha.
All the way from San Diego.
So where are they now? They've made it all the way to Salt Lake or what?
No.
They stopped here?
They stayed here.
So I moved to St. George in 2003 as well, crazily. But so tell me about as a kid. So you're growing up in San Diego or Vegas? Like how old were you when you went to Vegas?
So Vegas was like elementary school and a little bit of like intermediate school, but the rest of intermediate. So from 7th to high school here. Okay. So I don't know, where did I grow up?
Yeah, all over. How would your parents describe you as a kid? What would they say about you as a child?
I had a shoe fetish.
Okay. What does that mean?
I love shoes.
Okay.
I love shoes a lot.
You still love shoes?
I still love shoes.
You like collect shoes or what?
I mean, I can't like afford every shoe that I want, but I have a good like amount.
Gotcha. Okay. What else would they say other than you're a shoe junkie?
I don't know.
Did you have siblings?
I have one older sister, 5.5 years older. Yeah. I tattled on her a lot.
Okay.
Yeah. She hated me for it. I don't know. I guess I got more rebellious the older I got. Okay. So like, I don't know, as a young kid.
So you were a good kid living in Vegas and started to rebel living in conservative St. George.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. You would think it'd be opposite.
Yeah.
So tell me how then, so you end up being in, kind of growing up in the later years, high school and stuff in St. George. And how do you go from being a kid to where you become a personal injury paralegal? Because you've been with the firm now for quite a while. So walk me through that transition, like early career, schooling.
Yeah. So graduated high school in 2010 at Pineview High School. Went to Dixie State College, which is now Utah Tech. When I graduated, it was Dixie State University, and got my 4-year degree, bachelor's in integrated studies. It focused on marketing and communications. Okay. In the 20 years that I lived in St. George, I've moved a couple different places. So like, right after college, I moved up to Salt Lake and started a job in Park City. Didn't like it. Came home. I think I graduated 2016. 2016. I think it was like the summer. Okay. And then moved up to Park City. Didn't like that job. Came back. Got a couple like rinky-dinky jobs, and then landed at McMullin. I want to say I had an interview like in December, or maybe it was the beginning of January of 2017.
Do you remember that process?
Of being interviewed?
Yeah, like being interviewed at our firm and starting there.
Yeah.
What do you remember about it?
I remember you and Anthony. It it was an easy interview. It felt really easy, and like I was at home.
Did you feel like, I guess what I'm wondering, like, why a personal injury law firm? That seems like kind of a crappy job.
I just got referred. Like I had just heard about you guys through someone, and I never planned on going into law when I was in college, but.
So you were just like looking for a career or job in St. George, essentially.
Something to just like ground my feet.
Yeah.
And I started as a receptionist and then moved into paralegal. And then, technically I've been there like 5.5 years, but it's more like 7.
Yeah. So you've worked 3 different positions now at the firm.
Yes.
What's the worst position out of the 3?
Oh man. Probably reception.
Why?
I don't know. I just don't like it as much.
Being like the front of the house, answering the phone, dealing with that
I
many
don't
people.
mind. It was just there for a while when I was receptioning. I was running cases too. I think I got up to like 70, and I was the only receptionist. And so I remember Anthony got mad at me because I would bring all my files. We had paper files at that time, and I would stack them like on the desk when people like first walked in, and he was like, "You got to get those out of here." Like it's really ugly.
We went through some really fast growth during some of those years, and we're kind of in a transition period. Yeah. So I remember you kind of having to cover 2 different positions. We eventually sorted that out and hired more help and have grown quite a bit. What's that like when Anthony gets mad at you?
I don't know what to think. He's just emotionless, basically. Like I never know.
Okay, so sometimes you don't know if he's mad at you or not.
Yeah, he's just like just like one tone.
Pretty even kill. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Not super excitable.
He used to I remember I didn't know that I was supposed to go and clean the conference room table after every single meeting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, but then he didn't get mad at me. He was just like, it's got to be clean for the next client. And I was like, oh yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. Yep. And we still do that today.
Yep,
clean that table like 5-10 times a day. It's crazy. So tell us about working at a personal injury law firm then. I mean, I've tried to pull out some of the maybe negative parts. Tell me about what do you like about working at a personal injury law firm? It's been all these years.
Well, what's really cool, about like my journey is I worked with you guys for, I want to say like 3.5 years, and then ventured off and moved to California. And so I've been in the industry for 7 years, but with you guys, I think like 5.5. And I guess like it was really cool to go and experience personal injury law in like a different state and like ways that people do it. What was the question?
Yeah. So I'm wondering like what you like about being a personal injury paralegal. But yeah, and so you're saying, well, you worked at this other firm. What was different about that?
They just did everything differently. It was a lot more like corporate. Okay. I've always really enjoyed like the mom pa feel because I started with you guys when there was maybe like 5 or 6 employees. It's obviously grown now. I just like being a part of the big picture, and I really enjoy like with my experience being able to like step in and help anybody anywhere really, because I feel like I just have done all the jobs,
So there came a time though that you had to spread your wings and fly away, and were the one that got away. Yeah. Why did you go to California and work at another PI firm?
Oh, I just thought I had to get out of St. George, but when I came back, I was like, I am never leaving. And I just loved, working at the firm, and it is really rewarding. I think most people will say that it, being a part of that whole picture, watching someone be at their worst and, recover and see a smile on their face when they get a check. Obviously there's a lot more that goes into it, but that's all you can do to help.
So tell me about, people oftentimes have questions about PIP and what the heck that is. What's PIP?
Okay. Personal injury protection. It's basically it's a fund that's there. It's required by Utah law to have it on your auto insurance policy, and the minimum amount is $3,000. And it's basically just immediate funds that you have access to for medical bills.
So the first insurance that would pay medical bills after a crash is my own, even if I'm not at fault.
Your own auto insurance, yes.
Gotcha.
And some people, get more than $3,000. I would recommend always getting more than $3,000. You technically don't even have a case in Utah until you hit $3,000 in bills. So,
what does that mean?
There's a threshold, so you have to meet that to even bring your case to the auto insurance company.
Gotcha. Yeah. So people that just have medical bills only can still get their bills paid, but in order to get any pain and suffering or get anything in pocket on top of bills, Utah has this threshold law. Okay, so most of your responsibilities are doing other stuff now, not working on with clients directly on cases. But do you have a recent example of a case that you've worked on that you could give us an idea of what a personal injury case is like when you're hiring an attorney?
Yeah. So this client was referred to us by my friend. And the accident actually happened in Mississippi on the way home from Florida to St. George, and got in a car accident in Mississippi. And he was rear-ended really bad, and he had all of his belongings with him because he was moving across the country and coming back home with all of his belongings that he had already taken out there. So there was a lot of personal property damage on that one. That was probably the toughest part of the case, in my opinion.
What made that tough?
He had 2 TVs in the trunk that got smashed. He had all kinds of cool sneakers that were high-end sneakers.
So that was the perfect case for you as the shoe girl.
Yeah.
So were you able to get the insurance company then to cover his personal property?
Yes, I think that ended up being $6,000 or $7,000, and I had to provide, basically proof that they were damaged, so pictures, and then, track down receipts on his end and put it all together. It was kind of a nightmare, but it worked out, and then. He had a shoulder surgery, a lot of back pain. He might even still be getting, injections in his back. But that was an interesting case because there were 2 policies on the vehicle that struck him. Okay. So the owner and then the driver. So we were able to get policy limits on both of those. I can't remember if it was I think it was 50 on both of those or 25. I can't remember, but he also had a companion. So we also got a settlement for her. And then we dipped into his underinsured motorist coverage and got him $100,000 from his own insurance. So altogether it was $190,000 settlement.
So he ended up getting 3 separate insurance settlements or 3 separate pots of money.
Yep.
And that's because, so if I borrow my friend's car and I accidentally hit somebody, then they're able to make a claim against my personal insurance, but also the vehicle that I'm driving. Right.
And we should always be looking into that, especially when the injuries are severe.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thanks. What about, so tell me what's your favorite thing about working in personal injury law? What keeps you going after 7 years and 2 different firms?
I think it's 3 different firms, actually.
Oh yeah, 3 different
firms. 2 different firms in California. I like I said earlier, just like being a part of the whole picture. And there was one point where I was onboarding every single client, and I took a lot of pride in, making sure that they understood the process. Sometimes you just don't understand it, but I was eager to make sure that they felt set up for the rest of their case being passed on to the attorney and the paralegal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you cut settlements, you get a chance to see kind of the work product to some extent of different teams. We have teams of attorneys and paralegals that work together on these to handle these clients' cases. Give me an example of I'm imagining that you see different strengths and weaknesses of different teams.
Sure. Yeah.
What's an example of something that an attorney or a team can mess up that can cause you problems when you're trying to get checks cut for the client and make sure that everything's accurate?
Well, one thing that comes to mind is mixing up numbers when you're typing. That can be not terrifying, but it can be a little scary because you're calling to get a balance, right? The provider tells you what the balance is, and then you go and type it in wrong. And then we end up either, it's bad when we cut them too short and the provider doesn't get paid the whole amount. And then we have to dip into, it comes out of the firm's pocket.
Does that ever happen?
Yeah.
Yeah. That sucks, right? So
yeah.
What do you...
It can be the most minor mistake, but it's fixable.
So you're essentially the quality assurance to make sure that that we don't make those mistakes, at least as often as we can, right? We get one check in from an insurance company, and that client is counting on us to do the accounting properly and to pay everybody so that nobody comes looking for more of that money later.
Yeah. And it's really easy to look up, double check it, and just make sure the numbers match, wherever else you had it down or what the provider said on the phone.
Yeah. Tell us more.
It's also easy to mix them up too.
Yeah, totally.
It's human error.
Yeah. I mean, and when you're dealing with, hundreds of settlements, for a couple of them to have an accounting error is a pretty low percentage, but we're able to get them all fixed in the end, luckily. So tell us a little bit more about you. What do you like to do for fun?
I like water. I like boats. I like the lake. I like to wake surf more than I like to snowboard.
Okay.
Go snowboarding often in the winter. Love live concerts.
What type of performers do you like to go see in concert?
All kinds.
Like what? Give me some examples. Who do you like?
Anywhere from Big Sean to Morgan Wallen.
Okay. So all over rap and country mostly, or rock too, or no?
Mostly recently it's been a lot of country.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the last concert you went to?
Parker McMullin.
Parker McMullin.
Mm-hmm.
What was that like?
It was amazing.
Yeah.
He's not too big yet, so it was like one of those more intimate experiences, with the artist.
Yeah, cool. Well, that's all I have. Thanks for letting people get to know you a little bit and getting on camera.
No problem.